and gentlemen, and welcome to RLAfterShock, the longest-running independent podcast in Rocket League history, I think, at this point, Bacon. I think it's safe to say at this moment in time. Hopefully at full operation this time as well. I know we've had a couple of very awkward weeks coming out, especially with my PC issues. We didn't publish last week's show because it was actual shit. Not from a content perspective, exclusively from the fact that the audio was scuffed and the video was scuffed. So if you missed that one, then if you're watching as this one is coming out live on the podcast platforms and what have you, then you can go to Twitch and watch the VOD before it disappears forever. But before that point, I'm the Eternal J. I'm joined by Digital Bacon once again for another week of action. In particular, the action that will lead into the RLRS and RLCS kickoff week. Yes, it's that time of the year, Bacon, as the Championship Series is almost ready to return. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. And know what a wonderful time of the year it is, because finally the off season, which actually has been pretty packed this time around, Jay, we have to say, purely because a lot of people getting together. Not only did you have your normal nice cactuses going on, Drama Alert came on in to put on a lot of support for the EU scene, what with their partnership with Rocket Kingdom. And then, of course, we've had all the stuff going on with Daz, which this season has really been popping off, what with tons of donations coming on.
Yeah.
Just on
really
my count alone,
man.
over $3,000 in donations now, it seems.
I'm super disappointed, dude, because I'm fucking I really wanted to get on board with some of the skirmish stuff, or just due to time constrained scheduling and the fact I was down by a fucking PC the past couple of weeks, just unable to get through it all, man. I'm really disappointed, but hopefully I can come back some point soon to share that spotlight with him, because man, that guy fucking deserves it. And I just think that the skirmish as a whole is a really good project. I mean, we talked about that on last week's show, so for this week we're just going to jump in and talk about our main sort of topics. Again, it's all about the RLRS and RLCS, the play-ins, the storylines, the first week of matches. Everything is going down this weekend, so we're going to bring you all of those details, including Psyonix's response, sort of, to the open letter that we Sigma boosted last week, and of course we will round out with a little bit of a preview for all the stuff going on. Let's do the news. Let's start things off as we always do. So, last week, we talked about the open letter to Psyonix, which, as of this podcast, is now the highest voted thing on the Rocket League Esports subreddit. Thank fucking God, by the way. I'm really happy with that, to be honest. I feel like the community has finally, started to express its frustrations in a much more open and candid way. And I'm really happy about that, because, a lot of people have been feeling it for ages, but no one's really been willing to speak about it, except for, the likes of us and the people who don't really matter. And now it seems like that hive mind thinking has finally, shown its head almost, and has come to fruition on the top of this subreddit. But there was a response of sorts coming out from Ian. I reached the quote on the Reddit thread. Quote, "Hey all, to start, we understand your frustrations and we're not ignoring them. The whole team here loves Rocket League and Rocket League Esports, and we're working hard to do it right by our fans and community. Also, I know it also doesn't always feel this way, but we're listening even when we don't engage directly. The whole team here is constantly evaluating feedback from the community, and with that in mind, rest assured, we'll have more information on many of these topics soon. On a personal note, I'm here to talk when it's needed. I try to be as active on Discord and other platforms as I can, and never be afraid to reach out." And the response on Reddit absolutely blasted the shit out of him for all intents and purposes. Not literally, but or not him specifically, but it is a general
nice
sort of reaction.
Guy, but
here's the thing. I don't trust that Ian wanted to, I don't trust that Ian genuinely wanted to write this. I think that something else is going on with Psyonix back there, because this is the same cookie cutter, PR appealing sort of statement that we've seen out of basically every single Psyonix thing coming out of anything. There was the Josh Watson interview, which was PR bullshit up the arse. This is PR bullshit up the arse. And again, I don't blame these two individuals for saying what they had to say, but let's be real here. You haven't none of the issues brought up in the letter have actually been addressed here. It's just a case of, well, I have something for you soon. And how many times has Psyonix ever actually followed suit on stuff like that?
Yeah, and you got to think there's a lot of big change coming up down the line that we've seen. The big one for me, and we actually haven't included this in the show purely because it's more of like the game in general, but the drop of support for Linux and Mac coming on up in March, I do believe, like that doesn't link in directly to esports, but it shows like the plans they've got coming down the line. And of course, everyone's big thoughts of how, roughly around that time, we should see the change over to the Epic launcher then, because naturally, if you're dropping it for there, you might be changing on over, but there could be other things like just too much to develop for. But it's big things of just, this is happening. Why is it happening? What is going on in the backgrounds? We don't want just, a simple statement. It goes back even as far as like, the patch notes of the game, Jay, where there was just a statement of this and a lot of stuff being left out. And it's that sort of lack of, I don't want to say transparency, but it's like everything is just a mist of what is going on, and that just makes fans really nervous, and it's finally getting to a breaking point for Rocket League.
Exactly, and especially where we've got issues like the lack of support for the bubble scene, the priority of certain regions above others, the priority of certain tournaments above other regions that don't even hold that much significance in the Rocket League space overall. All of these things have, as you say, they've hit the breaking point at this point, and the community, I think, have had enough. I mean, if they didn't have enough, then how could this be the highest voted thing on the entire subreddit? We've been saying it for ages. We thought we were kind of alone in the space, to be honest, when we were saying all of our frustrations. We were airing out all of our issues, and for me personally, I've started to fade away from Rocket League. And it's like, you take a look at stuff like this, and it's like, well, actually, people do seem to agree with me and agree with us on that front, which is almost kind of like a feels good, almost like, in a sense that people are recognizing that the shits that there are problems in the Rocket League esports space, rather than just accepting that everything is fine and dandy and we're on the up and up. But again, this is the issue at hand at the moment. Is that the problems are all resting in Psyonix and their continued sort of avoidance of the issues at hand. And again, I don't blame any of the individuals, because almost all sort of media representation from Psyonix has been like this sort of statement, and while I imagine there's like an opportunity to play devil's advocate, personally, like, I'm just sick and tired of seeing this kind of stuff come out time and time again. It felt like this was a statement that was rushed out the door exclusively because this blew the fuck up.
Yeah, and again, you can see the response within this thread, of course, by Ian, instead of like a direct Psyonix response, I guess. It's coming from him directly, and he is community manager, so that is his job to go over it. But Ian's a great guy.
Bless his soul, man, because like, imagine him seeing this and just seeing this and realizing, just looking at his bosses over to the right hand side, just like.
Well, we've been talking about this before, of how there seems to be some sort of fear at every single turn. So naturally, I can imagine that could apply to Ian there directly. But it's what it is. Like I said, just before we started, Jay, I'm not going to play devil's advocate as such, but any other response than this would probably not be perfect. Like in this case, where you've got everyone hating on you and you need a response pretty quick, you do one of those PR ones. But that does now mean we need a proper fixed out response, maybe a roadmap, something like that, to come within. Yeah. By soon, we mean probably the next 2 weeks, And
I'm just gonna draw attention to the to a part of the quote. Is rest assured we'll have more information on many of these topics soon. It's like, if you're gonna put out a statement like this, you better follow suit on that. You just better at this point, because it's just,
there will be someone with a timer, Jay. 6 days ago this was posted. There will be someone there with a timer counting each day now, and that's how under the scope Psyonix are.
I'm gonna sort of put the timer, my personal time limit, at the end of RLCS, like maybe a couple of weeks after RLCS, and at that point it's like, right, okay, so where's that statement that you talked about all the topics that we mentioned in this open letter, and something else I also saw that got lost in the subreddit, on the subreddit after this was posted. It was a little breakdown of Psyonix's sort of like haphazard open circuit but kind of not approach to RL Esports, which I wish I still had the link. Honestly, it was a fucking really good read, the kind of thing that I'm kind of looking for right now. So if you guys are interested in sliding into my DMs, if you are the person that made that particular post, more details on that as it comes forward. But yeah, I mean, again, we're beating a dead horse by this point with the way things have sort of just with the way things have transpired with RL Esports. So just And there you go. Like Psyonix doing Psyonix things once again. Other things that Psyonix have done, so to play balance and to play to play the equal sort of to play fair. They have made some good updates to the game in terms of the esports content stuff, because this came out just today. Brand new esports shop items, new teams are being added. United, Pittsburgh Knights, Reciprocity, and Veloce are now in the fold. Now getting some of that sweet split revenue from the RLCS action. And I have to say that there's nothing bad about this. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah, for me, anyone looking at this, I can understand a little bit of both sides of the glass half full, glass half empty, because naturally at this point we've got 14 out of the 20 RLCS teams, but I completely understand, Singularity was just before Christmas. You've got to look at this sort of that Christmas break, all companies sort of grind to a halt, don't they? So stuff like that later Singularity one, there always seems to be a bit of a problem with football clubs, so AS Monaco and Barcelona not being included there, understandable. And just Endpoint, of course, was only announced 2 weeks ago at this point, I think it was. So yeah, these are the understandable ones, and it's good to see them churned out. We just hope, we've got a couple of images. I think in this post, if you look through it a little bit longer, you'll be able to see the Reciprocity, which is actually just very simple and clean. I like that. Yep. Veloce, I fucking love, because that's blue-ass camo, and I fucking love blue camo like that. It's just pretty cool. But I don't know what the Pittsburgh Knights and the United ones look like. But yeah, I wouldn't buy them anyway.
I mean, they're just too expensive for me. I can't afford it, considering all the other investment I'm putting into the into esports right now. So, for me personally, it's I really want to, especially the Reciprocity, man.
Oh, NRG is actually getting an update. I didn't see that.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to include that as well. Yeah, NRG will also be updated to the standard black and white compared to the purple shit that we had. Which I prefer the purple one person. I mean, that's more of an NRG problem than a Psyonix problem. So fuck NRG. But yeah, you can take a look through those on the website on the official announcement page. It's all linked there on the tweet, so if you need to go through it, then you know where to find it. To address some of the issues as well, to know that ASM and FC Barcelona are still not included. For ASM, it makes a bit of sense, as you mentioned, because they just got promoted. Same thing with Singularity and Endpoint and such. But for football clubs especially, there are exclusivity deals in place when it comes to selling their branding in games. I think there is something to do with the FIFA organization as well, in the FIFA games, where you can't sell FC Barcelona. You can't sell FC Barcelona, the FC Barcelona logo or the FC Barcelona colors and branding. Unless it's through a FIFA game, essentially. So there is it's bullshit, but again, it's not something that we can solve in the context of RL Esports. It's certainly a case of taking on a very corrupt organization to get them to fucking surrender those rights at this point, baby.
And again, I don't know entirely on the rulings there, because just to take, for example, PES, Pro Evo Soccer, taking the exclusive rights to Juventus. Now in FIFA, if you want to play as Juventus, now it's some made-up team name that looks very, very similar, and I don't know how it works with football clubs exclusively, but yeah, for it to happen to all football clubs, remember how we have PSG in the Baguette, I think it's still there, game files, but was not able to be put through, means there's some sort of halt being put in place there for them.
Yeah. Again, I'm leaning to the idea of it being a FIFA thing. Which we just can only
summarize to, FIFA.
So, fuck, what's his name? Sepp Blatter, I think is the guy's. Is he still the leader of the organization?
I have no idea who's, because I can remember, I stopped paying attention to that, a year ago when there was the scandal on that.
At the end of the day, FIFA are shit, just like the Olympics. Fuck them all. Right. That's going to be it for the news. Very slow news week, but that's fine, because the brunt of our show is mostly going to be about the RLRS and RLCS.
Olympics. I'm just saying.
Was Sepp Blatter Olympics?
Yeah.
Fucked it. Anyway, bottom line is that they're all shit. Anyway, so the majority of our show today will be on the RLRS and RLCS. The play-in preview is coming up today. Usually we separate a show for the play-ins and a show for the for the actual season itself, but we're kind of going to throw all of that shit into one big fucking podcast essentially. So
it's a double feature.
It's a double feature, yes. So that one unfortunately means no mailbag this week, but it doesn't matter because no one sent us any, probably because it has has been a slow news week. If you do want to send us a mailbag, though, then it's in the Discord, ! Discord in the Twitch chat, or in the show notes and video description. There is in the podcast. You all know the fucking drill if you've been listening for 60 episodes so far. Also, if you do want to join the Discord as well, we have the pick and prediction show, the pick and prediction game returning as well, run by our good mod Dexter. So go ahead and... Is it already out? Really?
It's already out, ready to go. Head on over. Dex has got a Google sheet and he'll be putting up each and every week. Yep. Because I put in my predictions, Mr.
Yeah, he gave us the private. He gave us the private one, but he didn't give. I don't think he put it out to the public just yet. It will, by the time this podcast comes out, it will most certainly, it's going to be released at the end of the show. So if you're watching this live, it will be right by the time we go off the airwaves. Jump in that Discord right now and prepare yourselves for the pick and prediction game. If you're listening via the podcast or the audio or video versions of the podcast, again, all those links are below in the descriptions and blah, blah, blah. Jump in and play a part of the prediction game. It was a lot of fun last season, and it will be a lot of fun this season. But what will also be fun is trying to break down the insane fucking bubble scene entries that we had in the top 128 teams looking to qualify for the rival series. Now, a lot of these names will go completely remiss just because it's impossible to go through every single team without just writing them off and saying, look, this, or that. So we're going to go through 18 of our notable picks, our honorable mentions for teams that we think either could make a run or that we have a storyline to talk about with that particular team, whether that be through one player or what have you. And then we're going to have our individual 7 choices, the teams that we picked to make it into the RLRS for this season's play-ins. This doesn't include any sort of seeding taken into account, exclusively based off who we think should be the teams based on their skill level who should be in the rival series. So let's start with our honorable picks. The first one being Aeriality. Obviously, Aeriality been around for a while. This is Tylacto's project. He's got J-Walls and Misty. Unfortunately, a significant downgrade from the previous Aeriality that we had here, Bacon. Yep. And we are both in agreement that this team should not be making it into Rival Series this season.
I have seen a lot of people predict them high. Danny Boy, for example, and I've completely every single time go, why the fuck are you seeding this team like say 5th out of 12 in the skirmish? And
I'm gonna be honest,
normally be proved correct. They're round about that 10th point, and for me they're decent. They'll have a decent run because they're fairly consistent, but they won't make RORS. You'll be seeing them in that sort of what's the one before runner-up? So before the qualification match, the game before, that's where I reckon they'll probably end up, which is a decent run. That's like top, I want to say 16 or so within Europe. But unfortunately, that is as far as I can see them going. Saying that, if they make it through, I'll be a happy bunny. Don't get me wrong, but you got to go by the stats.
It's just like, I'm looking at this team, and I unfortunately have to really hit them hard on this one, especially the main man of the roster, Tylacto. I love Steven, man. He's been one of the earliest supporters of the podcast from a pro player perspective, especially. I would love to have him on the show to get an interview at some point. Just to have a chat with him about his. He
was the first one you wanted to get an interview from, and it's taken.
That's true. That's mostly my fault, to be fair, man. So much shit has gotten in the way. SSP 1 and 2 is the main things at the moment, plus upcoming CSGO stuff, which I can't talk about just yet. But no, again, I hate to rag on him, but I think that, I just don't think the Tylacto is good enough to make it into the rival series anymore. I think he had his peak a long time ago, and I just feel like he's almost the dead weight to a certain extent. Take a look at the likes of Ixo and Blurry that used to be on the Aeriality side back during those pro circuit, during the pro circuit sort of qualifiers. Take a look at how insane those guys played compared to Tylacto, and now look at the teams that they're currently playing with. Take a look at the players that they're currently playing with, especially in this qualifier. There's no doubt in my mind that these two guys are top front runners to make it into the championships, to the rival series, excuse me. But Tylacto is currently playing with J-Walls, who is good, but again, not rival series quality. And Misty, who has potential, but he's not had a lot of top level positioning because he's been placed in Malaysia, and obviously the Asian scene gets no fucking exposure. So in terms of this project and with the skill level of Tylacto, I don't think his experience is enough to carry him through to the rival series. And again, I hate to say it because I love the guy, but it's just got to be fucking said,
I disagree. on the skill level aspect, because he doesn't have that mechanical skill, but he works in different ways. It is just this team as a composition is not going to work. It won't get them to RLRS. You think about
here's
it.
the thing.
You
Let
take
me-
Tylacto and put him back with the old Reality lads, the new Weedham girls sort of side, Exo and Breezy. He'd make it through easy. And that's just because Greasy and him would be able to fill very similar roles in what they need to do. I actually think there'd be a stronger team because Greasy is a weird sort of case on that side, don't get me wrong, but it just comes down to this as a trio is not going to make RLRS. I can't see it happening.
I think this is the part where we're going to disagree, because I have to ask, what does Tylacto bring to this roster that gives it, or to any roster for that matter, that gives it some sort of quality to it?
Generally, it is strict, hard-ass captain roles where he is keeping that rotation. He's directing his team. You saw back, can you remember, last season during like DreamHack qualifiers, seeing him play alongside Exo and Breezy, or Blurry, sorry, and he was just making sure that team was continuously rotating well, and he held that back line to a T. Whereas now you look towards, say, again, Weedham girls, because very similar setup, and Greasy is trying to get involved with those plays. He's like, keeping those instincts going. He's not holding himself back like Tylacto knows is best for the team. And so he's getting involved in plays and they overcommit something rotten. And that just comes down to Tylacto having a very strong mental game, which is what should make him should put him into the RLRS. But the problem here is he is not in the right team composition to which that works. Here he's got to hold up on that mechanical aspect because he's playing with J Wells and Misty. They're not incredible mechanical players, and he can just then solo focus on that defense and holding up the back line, and it just does not work to how he should be put into a team.
I personally think if you swapped out Tylacto for someone else, like even like an Alot, who is better mechanically, but even someone like I'm trying to think of a word off the top of my head, but someone.
Well, no, you put a lot in there, and that team's still not making RLRS.
I'm not disagreeing with you on the composition part, because I think the composition is shit as well. But I'm just thinking that if you put someone like a lot in, then or someone else of like a better caliber, like even into the old Reality lineup where you had Exo and Blurry, then you still wouldn't have you still wouldn't have a team that could make the run. And I feel like that's just a problem with Tylacto as a whole. I mean, maybe there is some sort of thing like that. Like there is an alternative reality where we see Reality, the old Reality, the fucking clock tower Reality stick together and smash it out of the park, because that's what Exo, Blurry and Tylacto did.
They would have been the strongest team in the EU right now for RLRS planes. Easy.
I don't know. Again, I feel like I feel like that. I don't know about whether or not that would have been the case. Unfortunately, we will never know. Unfortunately, so the best we can do is sort of like make sort of like weird ass predictions, assumptions, and otherwise sort of speculate, because I don't know. This team's not going to make it for me. It sucks again because Reality is so storied, Tylacto so storied as well, but. It's a no from me, man. It's a no from me. Also, a no from me is the pro golf players. Mads, Zenzis, and Chippy. Another nice little mix of players here. Mads, I remember in particular from the old Schmookly side. But I feel like that roster is getting a lot more sort of like irrelevant as time goes on, because those three guys, when they were together, they created magic to the point where Red Reserve almost. I think they actually did get upset actually back during the one of the Rocket Baguette tournaments. I can't remember which one. That trio's never coming back. So the question now is for Mads and for Zenzis and Chippy as well. What's the stock in them as individuals?
The thing is, the reason why we've got these down as noble team is largely because of, like you said, you got Zenzus, their previous RLRS, Zeno Moon last season was it season before, and Mads, of course, like we said, from the start of the year. The problem is, looking at the results recently, it is way too goddamn up and down, inconsistent. Their best one that I can really pick on out is from one of the skirmishes. I'm going to look to Skirmish 3 that Dad's recently done. Yeah, they took down Cubicles, who is a team that I have got lots of stock in. But they lost to Weedham girls, and I think that was Weedham Gooch as well when they were playing with their sub. Gooch has been doing pretty good on that side, but then they lost to Three of a Kind afterwards. So how do we put them into, like, when we look at predictions, when they're getting beaten out by other teams within our predictions, how do we put them above them? That is pretty much it, Jay, isn't it?
Yeah, and unfortunately, like for a lot of these teams that have sort of like scrambled together and got their set positions in the last second, like you're always going to be at that handicap because you haven't given yourself time to develop as a team. And especially with the very short off season, that's going to be a bit of a running theme for a lot of these squads. Is that while on paper they have like a lot of fucking potential in terms of their own individual skills, as a team is where everything will fall down. And speaking of the devil, Exilium Esports, Crisis, King JS, and Cynical. I love all these guys. Obviously, I've I rep Crisis and Cynical. I donated to Cynical Stream back in the day. They're all a bunch of guys. Exilium though, like I don't think that they've been playing together with this 3-man core for a very long time.
Price, yeah, yeah, 2 of the 3 have. The problem here, Jay, for me, is this is a team that I want to do well because this is a really cool roster. The problem is that, again, from results, they always end up in a really awkward seeding where they'll go up against, say, your Weedham Girls, or very recently in last week's Nice Cactus, it was up against No Horizon in earlier rounds, like you're talking quarterfinals, and they'll get knocked out. They struggle to get past the quarters purely because that's when they have to go up against the teams of high merit, because naturally how seeding works, and they have not been able to break them. And here coming into the RLCS play-ins, it's going to take a massive miracle, as always it is with the play-ins, and I just can't see them doing that. They'll do good again. They'll make top, I don't know, 20 maybe, top, well, I don't know what stage is before that. I think it's 24 and then something like 32. So top 32 should be fairly safe for them, but any more than that, that is going to have to show their true colors, and we want that. But again, we're saying top 32 is not going to be one of our picks, but does put them in the notable teams section.
Yeah, here's the thing about notable teams, that any one of them could be fucking could make the miracle run. They could be the Baguette squad of old. They could be the
Vertex of
old. Oh, the Vertex, actually, that's another good example. They could have been all those guys.
Zulu.
Echo Zulu as well, yeah. I mean, you can fucking just name them all off one by one. But, the bottom line is that, I think that they're going to have to show something even deeper to try and make this happen. Same thing could also be said for Blitz, Z9, Dissident, OSM. I have to say, this is a very lopsided roster in my opinion. Like, Z9, I rep as a player. I think he's got a lot of untapped potential. Same thing for OSM, to a lesser extent, however. And I don't think the same can be said for someone like Distant. Distant has had a lot of history in the scene, and especially in 2019, where his competition in the bubble scene not only dropped off in terms of performance, but also dropped off in terms of volume. He stopped entering a lot of tournaments. So, like, I feel like Z9 could go much better places than this for me.
I don't know. This is a team that's got potential. Like you talk about Distant, I think it's because he's in his last year of uni, so it's understandable for that drop off there. But yeah, this is a team where I look at him from their pedigree in the past. They've shown, like, especially Z9 with intellectuals, that this is a team that will go far, but very much the same as Exilium. I don't see them being able to go the whole way, and it is always the case for these teams where you look at everything. This is why they're on the notable teams, not on our picks. I hope they do well. They're great guys, but for me, Z9 has got, decent mechanics in the mental, but as this 3-man squad, they don't link up. OSM is a great mechanical player, and we've seen what he can do, but the mental side of it, with his rotations, he can get a little bit wonky, and then Distant lingers into the middle of the 3 of these. So there's no one there as a massive striking force, because in EU, and I'll probably remind guys this later, we're in a very bull-chasey mood at the moment, where the quality of Rocket League has actually dropped off this season because it's not so much focused on team play, but more on pure mechanical skill. And so you look at these 3 guys, yes, OSN could bring that to it, but Z9's a little bit slower and Distant a little bit slower even still. They don't have the ability to be able to chase up and, keep up to pace with your, Ixos, Breezes, Blurries, all of that sort of lot. And I'm just saying that as their other English players. And that's what holds them back in our notable teams.
Indeed, yes. A team, however, I think that is on the edge of being notable teams to promoting, I think, are the Vertex guys. You look utterly confused as why I'm saying that. Here's the thing, right? I have some faith because they decide to stick together, right? Usually when a team drops out of the rival series, they're done, and then that's the end of the story. But for Vertex, their story is evolving in a bit more of a different sort of in a different sort of fucking way, because as we mentioned earlier during the offseason, they actually made a roster change. They brought in. They brought in Nagflow, who is a respectable player, not amazing, I don't think, but in terms of his participation in previous tournaments, he's been part of the Vitality and Fnatic sides during Chief and Elite series. He's enjoyed quite a lot of success in the bubble scene over the past number of years. As of late, it has been a little bit lesser so, but they've already made it once. Like, what's the potential of Nagflow making it in with this side again?
So Nagflow played with Domain all the way back to the Team Enjoy days in Season 2. This, for me, was the safety net for this team. They lost Rizex, weren't really sure who else to pick up, so they just picked who they knew they could play with, and so they picked up Nagflow. This is a team that has not experimented, and I haven't really had a massive chance to see them play. They've not really put out much. So for me, this team is nothing of a standout hit, and I think they've lost their most powerful player off to another side, and I cannot credit them as being in my even top 20 picks at the moment. They'll hold a lot of prestige like we do for seeding, as they'll continue on in after being in the RLRS last season, but here I have got no real hope for this side. Yeah,
I don't know, man. I feel like given the current landscape of things and the fact that there are so few sort of teams that you can 100% say, right, these are going to be the guys that get in, without a fucking shadow of a doubt. I feel like Vertex still have a chance to make a good run. It'll be a lower bracket run, I think. I don't see them making it in as top seed. I don't see them getting top seed. I hope to God they don't, because I don't think that they're that good. But having that little experience to get into the rival series once before, I feel like that is just enough to tip them over the edge to potentially be sort of like borderline, not favorites, but borderline, between the notable honorable mentions and the actual picks. But we'll move on from that. Danish Dynamite, Pondex, Maestro, Al Dente. Pondex, what the fuck are you doing with your life, man? Like, what the fuck is this shit? This is such a waste. Pondex, when he went out of XL, Pondex was such a legit guy. And ever since then, he's gone on to be part of some really weird teams. Vikings, E-Girls, Copenhagen Flames, and now this squad. Like, mate, what is this? What the fuck is this?
This is, again, it feels like players of old sticking together because they know each other and they're trying to bring in this new talent. And so Pondex has gone to two older players, which he knows very well, but that is not going to get him the reins. Like you said, Pondex is the one where we're disappointed. Maestro and Al Dente, I don't see anything happening. But Pondex could have gone into another team. I would have liked him to maybe try and go in, like that Echo Zulu roster from last season where they got out their team. We'll go on to him a little bit later, but that is the sort of place where I want him to go in and sort of bring in a little bit of that experience, which he's got, but then with two new players that are trying to come on through, or try and move on in like we saw in the past with him playing with Blurry and that on the XL side, and just try and mix it up a little bit. Don't get too close in comfort with the guys that you've known for ages within the scene. No, you need to bring through that new talent. Here is such a waste for this guy, because we can look at this Danish Dynamite side, Jay, and we just go straight up, one word, washed. That is it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'd say two-thirds washed. Because, again, I still think Pondex has got it.
Hair yet. That is it.
I think that Pondex is a legit guy. The last time that we saw Maestro play was in fucking September. Al Dente was something like October or something, with the exception of the Rocket Baguette Rising Stars LAN event. I think it was called Supernova, where he was with Nordavind, who placed last fucking place. Pondex came off of October, winning a LAN event. He won 1.2 grand just from a Danish LAN event. He's got talent. He is legit. Why is he playing with these guys? It makes no sense to me when I think that he's a guy that could just do so much better. I feel like it's such a waste, such a big fucking waste, because you could take Pondex and slot him into any one of these teams, or there are a couple of good teams actually from the honorable mentions that I think you could slot him into, and he could potentially be the guy that turns that team into a rival series qualifying squad. As for this team, it's going nowhere. It's going fucking nowhere. Danish Dynamite are Danish dead. As are the Awkward Turtles, Matei and Taz and Crash. Obviously, Matei and
Cash,
Taz being...
not Crash.
I'm dyslexic, fuck you. I'm not too familiar with Cash. Matei and Taz, I think it's... I think it's also over for them. Because like they've just been unable to capture the magic of Echo Zulu, you know?
So here was one where coming off last season, I thought it could be. They dropped Impact, wasn't it? And I was looking at them two going, who are they going to pick up? Because realistically, we saw them playing with Zaf, who is still their sub coming on into this season, and they looked better with their sub. And yet I'm playing with Zaf, they brought in Cash. Now, Cash, I don't think is ready. He's been around the community bubble scene for, like, not even bubble scene, sorry, but the community scene for ages. I think this is probably one season too early for the lad. And yeah, they have not been looking good in any of their stuff. They'll get invited to, like I said, the skirmish and that. But if I'm quickly going to bring them on in, taking down Predatory Instincts in Daz's skirmish 4, just as quick results. 3-0, then they drop to RCD Espanol 3-2. They then beat out Wind and Rain 3-2, beat out Void, good, but lose to 3 of a Kind 3-0, and that was quite a dominated series by 3 of a Kind. So it's again, like we said, how we rate this team up against RLRS, more secure, we think stronger picks, and they get knocked down each and every time, like we said with Exilium. They fall into that same bracket of maybe if the stars align on the day, it'll happen. But for everything else, they just make top 20. They're not, breaking that barrier for us. That's why they're in this list.
Yeah, and I mean, they've had some good performances on the Nice Cactus Cups, and they had a top 8 at the Skirmish Invitational, but I just don't see that being enough for me to justify putting them into into one of my prediction picks. I just don't see it being enough. And I mean, yeah, there's some good results, the Nice Cactus stuff. They went out against the likes of Block and IDC. Skirmish was a bit of a weird one because they lost to Cubicles, who could be considered maybe not the team in there as well. But I would rate all those teams to be better than them, and I just don't feel like this is. I just don't feel like this is a squad that's going to make it in, which sucks again, given the history between Matei and Taz and such. So, Predatory Instincts, bunch of UK players. I love all of these guys.
Don't love the team name.
People
still.
Don't love the team name. Absolutely not. Please, guys, change
Why?
it. You'll be forced to
sort your shit out, boy.
This seems like
Every
a very Raffro
time.
move, in fairness. This seems like something that Raffro would fucking do. But no, Psyonix will absolutely make them change it if they make it into rival series. I don't personally think they will. I appreciate what this team has done, though. They've actually had some pretty consistent results. Usually top 8ing most of the tournaments they've been a part of. The likes of the Drama Alert and Skirmish tournaments and everything. But that's been it. Top 8, just constant top 8, 5th 8, 7th 8th. That's it. And for that reason, I feel like that they haven't shown us enough to prove themselves being a team that will be able to make the miracle run.
Yeah, Polar for me is RLRS quality of all those 3 players. Rafa and Tadar have been dropping off. It feels almost as if like they stagnated. Jay, and it's horrible to say. Tadar must know this himself because he's been trying to get into casting. I've seen him cast quite a lot with Danny. And this is them just sort of 3 mates having a go at it once again, like RLRS rolls around every 6 months, and why not have a crack at it? And they've done better than what people expect. Like before these RLRS plans, I probably wouldn't have put them in a top 20 position, but here, no, I think they could. But I don't think they can make it through to RLRS. Again, they're good lads. Hope they do make it through. But if you're starting to see a pattern, it's because everyone, we hope the best of these players. But we got to go with, the stats, go with our hearts. And here say, no, I don't think
it's always difficult. It's always difficult being friends with the players themselves in the bubble scene, because it's like, it's why it hurts me to slam Tylacto as much as I do, because like, like fucking hell,
you quite enjoyed that actually.
No. I don't enjoy slamming any player. Even the Pondex thing. I don't enjoy slamming my Shin Al Dente. Al Dente team are one of my best friends. So like how the fuck can I enjoy that? I'm not a sadist. Well, actually I might be, but that's for me to know and you to find out. Anyway,
I hope I never find out.
You will never find out, Bacon. You're not my type. Epsilon Esports, right? Okay, I'm going to make a quick thing about the organization Epsilon, because they fucked over a lot of players. They fucked over a lot of players.
But players are dumb, Jay, and they should just look at those contracts first.
Yeah, I know. I hope they got a decent contract, especially someone like Fakeout, who was part of Epsilon prior to this. I think this is like, biggest sort of like longest standing organization, because he was there for them in 2018 for 2 different runs in the Elite Series. And here he is back with them again with Ekon and Calcife. And I'm just like, mate, hold on. Have they not sort of been fucking like ostracized from the community yet? Like, isn't this the kind of thing that Drama Alert should be jumping on in their Discord server to add like, this organization to the list of organizations that you want to fucking avoid? I'm
gonna go check their like list of blocked like orgs and all of that, because that'd be interesting to see.
It's like I thought that Epsilon were a team that had some backing behind them, especially when they purchased a slot in the Elite Series. Like, to me, that seemed like an evidence of decent financial standing. Maybe there was some strings pulled around that. I don't know if they paid the full price. But for them, like, I don't know what they're doing here, because they are not making any money off this team. And I don't think that this team will make it into Rival Series per se. I do support all the players, and again, I think the Calcife is one of the breakout stars of Scotland, but I don't think that this team as a whole is enough to smash it out of the way.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's just going to be one of those things of these are always, apart from Fake Out for a small period of time, B tier players, or maybe even C tier if you want to count it, they are still going to be within the bubble. They could break through again on the day performance, but I don't see any of them having the mechanical skill or mental skill. We haven't been able to see them in too many weeklies do too well. So as per, there is no stats to prove that they'll make it through to RLRS, no results for that. They have to just linger on their notable teams, 1, because of the player names, but then 2, because Epsilon back, and that's always an interesting one to see them, appear.
Yeah, again, it's difficult because my mind is very much drawn to the Epsilon brand rather than the players themselves. Because again, I think the players have a bit of potential. As you mentioned, Fake Out's been at the top end sometimes. He's had a couple of decent LAN victories. Most recently, I think he had Victory LAN in November, which is a Belgian LAN, which in fairness wasn't anything massive. I mean, he was playing with MCon back then, and they had a couple of they had mostly Benelux no-namers, but it's a LAN victory, so it's something to his name. But yeah, no, I don't feel like this is a team that's going to make it in just from name value alone. I feel like there's potential in the squad, but nothing that will be tapped into during this next play-ins system. Same thing I think could also be translated over to Garbage Disposal Unit. We've got Matt Gray, Niels Cook, and Waffle. This is a very similar situation to Danish Dynamite, actually, because Mads Gray is a pretty decent player. He's had a bit of an up and down sort of time in the bubble scene, but he's played on the likes of Shizou back when they had their nice little run back in October, November of the end of last year. He played in a couple of Rocket Cores, also in the first skirmish under this Garbage Disposal Unit team. But Niels Cook is washed. Waffle is washed. I
think Niels Cook is solid RLRS player. Like, he is worth of that level. But why do people keep picking up Waffle, Winther, or whatever he wants to go his name with, because he keeps swapping between the two continuously? He's never been of that level. It was just always weird. At the Gfinity thing, he was just picked up sort of as a sub. He was he got the War of Waffle name, but that was hype for one season, and then it wasn't really continued on. And it's just that name is stuck about, and he's been picked up for that. I've never understood it. I've not seen the results on the pitch for 2 years now, to why he keeps sticking with bigger teams. He's not worth the pickup. They should have gone with someone else here. And then they would have looked like a decent sign. Like here, we'll go into the next team a little bit, Toddlers and Tiaras, by Mateos on that side. Swap him for Waffle over, and then that would be a solid team. I'm just saying, like, that is my crucial point with this team.
If you want a Danish player so bad, Pondex for me. Just stick Pondex in for that one, and there you go. I think you've got a decent team. But then
Pondex and Niels sort of had a big Burrito B, Rick's Rondo problem towards the end. But maybe there was bad blood. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Here's the thing: time changes people. People change with time. So maybe there's a difference. Maybe you could change your mentality, you change your personality, change something. I don't know. The reason why I say I think Niels Cook is washed though is because we haven't seen him since September. It felt like after he failed in the rival series. You remember it actually. I think we were the ones that were cast in that game, the Baguette squad, where they re-qualified by beating out his team at the time, Big Brain Gamers, and it felt like Niels Cook just kind of gave up at that point. So seeing that whole thing go down, especially after the drama of the whole Veloce thing, it felt like he gave up to me, which is why I don't have faith in what he can do. That's the reason why I'm looking at this team like I see one definitely washed player, one player that feels like he's washed, a young gun with a lot of potential in Mats Gray. He's only 19. He's already had a number of successes in the bubble scene, as well as a couple of LAN second places and various different minor tournaments to his name. But that's only one element out of three that I have faith in, and for that reason I don't have faith in the garbage disposal unit guys as a whole. And similar sort of thing to what you were saying about Toddlers and Tiaras as well. Flarky by Mateos Data, rinse and repeat by Mateos, really good. Flarky though has not been relevant since season 4 maybe for a stretch. Data as well. Data's last team was Nordavind. And while I feel like his inclusion was a sort of sleeper sort of element that ended up making that team relatively good, he's not part of it anymore. And I don't really, I don't really have the faith that he'll be able to be the carry of this team alongside by Mateos.
Yeah, this is a team again that's just dead in the water. They'll go decently far. If it goes in the mainstream or the rival stream, which we have no idea what's going on with Planes this season, I'm sure they'll get picked up because they're naming like maybe a bit of love. But realistically, statistically speaking, this team ain't doing anything. It ain't going anywhere. It's just old dogs sticking about.
Yes, alongside the scuffed leftovers, which is Sicky, Snasky, and Mummy Snow.
All washed for once. They're not trying it with the new dog. No, it's just all washed.
Yeah.
They're actually out of the shower at this point. It's been that long.
Dear, oh dear. Yeah, let's move on then. I think we've kind of gotten through some of the lesser named teams, some of the lower level squads. There are a couple of unknowns actually that you wanted to point out, Bacon. So I want to start with some of the teams that you added to this list.
The Little Giants.
Little Giants, Killano, Mingalism, and Luisp. I'm not going to lie, I have no idea why you put these guys here.
So again, this is another case of Spanish teams are really strong at the moment. Again, because EU Rock League is scuffed as fuck. That is basically the be-all and end-all of it, where it's all about pace. It's all about just beating your opponents to the ball. There is no thought about it. Hence why I was saying, like, Tydlacto is such a clever aspect, because with two fast players, you're fine, you control the game, and then you just absolutely dominate every other team. And so this is another one of those Spanish Bim Bam sides that is just so pacey, and we've seen them do great stuff. The only problem is if they get pushed right back to their back wall, then they'll struggle hard because that's when their communication breaks down. But their attacks are so killer, and that is why I'm putting them as one of those. So they're notable purely because I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up on a stream of some sort, purely because they've made it through to like that top 20 position. They've got on a stream, maybe even for one of those qualifier spots. And this is like, this point now is my more hopefuls, because they could just absolutely surprise teams where they've not gone up against them, or they just don't expect that raw pace to come out. And, you know, in best of fives, you can just drop like that straight out that way because your morale is broken.
I mean, I haven't seen too much of this team, unfortunately. Kind of been
There
a
is
little bit of the
Breezy
Rocket League
in
as well.
chat just saying Lewis P is a god.
Really? All right. Okay. Well, that's something to be fair.
Also, Jay, I'm going to call it out.
Here's
the
the thing.
Go on.
What are you going to call out?
I was going to say that you roasted me earlier for saying Killer was killer number 7.
Look, I'm fucking
That is
dyslexic.
how out.
Fuck
Like
you.
the Spanish
Fuck
English
you.
is so out there. Come on.
Fuck you, right? Here's the thing, right? Is the skirmish the only result that I have to go off of?
I'm pretty sure I've seen them in some nice cactuses as well. I've seen them in some weeklies. But yeah, that's the one that came to mind was the skirmish. I'm gonna bring up my note sheet for this.
Because here's the thing, right? We've only seen this team form for a couple of tournaments at best, and while I do want to take stock in the in what you're saying, and I do want to take stock, obviously, in Luis, considering the big boys themselves are fucking talking about him. What about his teammates, and what about the team as a whole? I haven't seen much from them personally, so I can't speak on the quality of their gameplay. I can speak on the quality of their results, and there's just not that many there in what's already a very little pool of bubble scene tournaments. So for Little Giants, you got to question: is that pressure going to break them when it comes to the big rival series 128 team double elimination bracket? And in a lot of cases, you find that less experienced teams will crack under that pressure.
So for me, statistically speaking, looking at my past recorded results of these guys, they come in at winning 53.85 of their series. And that puts them statistically as above that 50% mark, puts them into contention. We're talking stuff like We Them Girls are sitting at 79%. That's why they're such a safe bet. But this is why they sort of fall on in, because a lot of teams just cannot handle their sheer pace. I'm trying to bring up the results right now. Oh, I've gone and overwritten something, and that is bad. Bad bacon. What are you doing?
Nice.
No, back. There we go.
Just talking about shit that we have no idea about. I just count you sitting there.
They've taken down Minx 3-1 previously. They have taken down Galaxy. They lost the Galaxy Bank 3-2. Yep. Don't know what tryouts Pog were. Il Grillos. But yeah, they're pretty much right up into contention, and whenever they lose to teams, it's always down into your game 5. They took down Sandrock Gaming 3-1, which is, I think, something a little bit more thoughtful. They went to game 5 against Triple Trouble recently. I think that was in the skirmish. Went to game 5 against We Them Girls, and this is what I'm saying. Like, they have got the potential to go far. They've just got to hold off on that mentality. They've got small little things, which I've seen within the last 2 weeks, mainly that defense they got to work on. But if they can work that out by this weekend, by Sunday, this is a team that could make it through. And that was We Them Girls, yes, with Gooch. You're right, Breezy. That was you lads when you were playing with your sub. But still, I didn't see much difference. Breezy, I'll grill Greasy in front of you, but I didn't see massive difference in that team with Gooch in there, which is good because it means like that Gooch is going to be a decent sub if you need him during the season. But that just means that Greasy's got to pick up his steam. The whole team was a little bit off that weekend, I will say, though.
All right, well, I'm open-minded. I'll give him. I'll give a bit of potential. I mean, you haven't picked them. You haven't gone the bold pick to pick them to go to the rival series. No. So at least I can respect the fact that you acknowledged them. So let's see how it plays out for Little Giants. Let's see how it plays out for Wind and Rain as well. A team I was kind of umming and ahhing about as well whether or not to include them on the list. They've got talent, I think. Mm-hmm. I say I think actually they've got Kieran and Psycho, so of course they've got fucking talent. And they've also had a decent performance in some of the nice cactuses and drama roll tournaments. So yeah, I like it. I like it. I like the idea of acknowledging them a little bit, but I was very umming and ahhing about whether or not to put them as an honorable mention.
They've got high highs and low lows. Their biggest asset is Boy School Q. He's an insane player. Again, probably not there mentally, but give it next season. Boy School Q will be of RLRS level. It just takes one of those, Xenomoon runs where it's just that new Nolly sort of lad coming on the block. And Boy School Q is going to be there. He's the one you got to watch out. Kieran is, I'm not too sure. Like, it's hard to, sometimes you can see a player's like potential clearly. Kieran is Psycho. I'm not incredibly sure. Lesser on Psycho, more on Kieran. Lesser on Kieran, more on Psycho. I think Kieran's got a little bit like easier to see potential. Psycho, I'm not so sure where he's going to be. But this is a team which I think if it's a good day, they could make the run. But again, otherwise, they're just going to be around that top 20 area. That's it.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I could see them going lower, though, as you mentioned, high, low, low. So we'll have a look, see whether where that goes. Void up next, Magu, Mercy, and Rise. I'm not going to lie, I haven't seen Magu or Mercy for a long time, so I was not comfortable. Good. Are they still good?
Mm-hmm. My best example would probably be one of the skirmishes again. Let me just quickly try and find Void amongst all of these because I've got so many fucking tabs open. Why do I do this to myself?
This is the problem when you're trying to research all these teams. There are going to be teams that you miss and teams that you can't talk about and teams that you haven't got much to say about in terms of, like, what they've got. And a shit ton of research. There you go. Void.
3-1 again. So they lost. I'll start off with their loss in the skirmish. Lost 3-1 to RCD Espanyol. A fairly close 3-1. Every game was just 1 goal differential. But then they beat out Predator Instincts 3-1. Beat out Servette Geneva 3-1. And then lost to Awkward Turtles 3-1. Again, very close games. There for me, right on the cusp, and Magu and Mercy being big aspects, but Rise is one that just needs to fall on in. He is potentially their strongest player, but he isn't so comfortable as the trio.
All right, then, fair play. I mean, I wasn't sure about whether or not to put them in, obviously, because I haven't seen much of Wind and Rain. I didn't get the chance to watch that skirmish. Another thing I can also say, very similar to Notorious Legion as well. Another couple of really good players, actually. So, like,
this is such a
Sharp and Dead
team.
Monster. Yeah, they are solid.
Yeah, like they have and have not been playing on and off. Let me just quickly try and bring up some of their results. Like, for example, Nice Cactus Cup 30. They dropped to Pro Golf Players 3-1. They're going on to Nice Cactus 29. They came runners up, losing to Block. That was a fucking brilliant series. I remember that. Coming into Cast It, that was good fun. Skirmishes, they dropped near enough 2-0 out. RCD Espanyol 3-1 in... it was an odd. Game 2 was not close at all. But the other games were fairly close, and then they dropped to Air Reality. Very close again, but dropped to Air Reality. So here I'm just going, this is a team that could potentially make it on through, but I have not seen, and without any stats there, like if we had no stats, just purely from the players themselves, I'd put them through. But their stats so far within the last month have not been enough for me to put them on my list of they'll make it through to RLCS. They're just on the cusp.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of glad that you said that, honestly, because again, this is a roster that I haven't seen too much of in the last couple of months, but to see that they're also still doing good, that's brilliant. A team that I have seen a lot of, though, is No Horizon. Now, these boys, oh fuck. They had a bit of a rocky start to start. Nice Cactus Cup 30 was, I think, their first outing together.
Way back before that, but in recent times, we're saying like within the last month.
Yeah. Within this year, this was their first outing, and they had a bit of a top 8 weird one. And they did lose to Weedham Girls, so in fairness, they had a pretty low seed. But it was during cup number... I can't remember which one it was. I think it was 32 actually, because we were casting, it wasn't me, Bacon. So they had a really stomping run. They had a really fucking good run where they beat Team Singularity. Admittedly, not playing with their full lineup, so there's that.
They beat Exilium as well the round before. You got to remember that.
Yeah, that too, Exilium and everything. They beat Wind and Rain UK, who you just alluded to, and they had a really good series against Tosca Moon. So these guys have already proven that they've had a one-up above most of the bubble scene. And considering that this team, I think, very recently only reformed, I know that they were playing in the last year, but I know that Boom Quick went off and had his stint with Crazy Crew, for example. So just to reform and come back into this one and smash out the park, that's fucking good. Really good from them.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing really more to add to that. Boomquick's quite awesome. Kia Monster is a monster indeed. And Kanzi's I'm never incredibly sure on. He fits in the team quite well, but again, like I was talking about potential, he's one that is so fucking hard to read for me. But this No Horizon side, I reckon out of all these teams are they're potentially my team that I was in and and do I put them on my 7 picks, you know? This is the closest team I had to that, Jay. And again, we gotta remember another Spanish side. Which, talking about Spanish sides, let's throw another in the mix.
I was going to allow you to segue into that one. We've got our final team of the honorable mentions, blue tag pickups. So we've got Dementia, Mr. Ube, and Impact. What do you have to say about these guys?
The funny thing is, nothing. I have no stats off the top of my head for this team, but I looked at them and just went, fuck me, that is dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly check. Did I put them in? Yeah, I have nothing for this team. But I look at that and go...
You're the one who wrote them down as well.
Yeah, no. That's exactly it. By names alone, Mr. Ube is incredible. And Dementia is great. Impact is going to be their weakness here. But this is a team that, because I've got no stats, it's super hard to pick. But I don't know. I haven't looked at their play-ins, like the qualifiers results, how they put in that. But just by name alone, this is notable enough for me to have a watch of them on the bracket, you know?
Yeah, I am. I can agree to that extent. That these are all really good players. The only issue again with terms of putting them in that thing is whether or not they actually are good as a team. And that could probably be very consistent across most of these squads. To me personally, these are all factors we take into account when it comes down to. Making the picks overall. And those are all teams that I feel like have the best chance of making an upset run. Where I don't think that we won't think that they will make it or that they have a good chance to make it, but we do think that they have the potential to make it. So those are going to be your guys to watch when it comes to underdogs in the top 128 bracket. But now we're going to go ahead and go list our 7 teams that we think are going to make it in, because there are 7 spots, as we mentioned. We're going to kind of do this one by one to a certain extent. So we're going to kind of go through our common sort of picks, the guys that we've mentioned that we believe are the that both me and Bacon agree are going to be the guys that we've. Yeah, we've got 5 common picks, and then we're going to go through the other 2 that we've otherwise picked. So let's start with We Dem Girls. No contests.
Easy.
Let's be real. Easy.
I told you earlier, 79% win. And that's including the, I want to say, 2 tournaments they played with Gooch. So yeah. They're ready. Exo Breezy, those 2 lads have been cheated out, it feels like, for the last 2 seasons, Jay. This 3rd time the charm. That's just what I got to say. It's got to come through. If not, oh boy. I don't know why.
Absolutely. You can see what my picks are up there on the screen. I'll just kind of run through these real quick as to the picks that I made. I also picked 3 of a kind, Block, RJM, Savet Geneva, RCD, and the boys. But we're going to go through the list one by one. 3 of a kind is the other team that we decided to pick on here, Bacon. Alex, Blurry, Ocelon. Another team that I feel like are under similar circumstances as We Dem Girls, to a greater extent, especially with Ocelon, in the sense that he was cheated out of several RLRS spots and such.
Outside of We Dem Girls, this is the most consistent team at the moment. And again, that largely comes down to uber consistent players, Alex and Ocelon. They've been working great. And then they've gone into, again, I was talking about those more rotational teams could destroy. Blurry is the only player on this who is a mechanical god. When it comes down to Alex and Ocelon, they just hold their line. And Alex has been playing a great little game of just high octane aggression. Just make sure that he's continuously pressuring the opponent so that Blurry gets his opportunities. And Ocelon just lingers around the back. He's a perfect 3rd man. So this is a team that's got more traditional Rocket League. And I mean, we did have that argument earlier where we didn't like teams that stuck together just purely for old dogs, looking at Alex 161 and Ocelon here. But this is one where they still have the caliber and they brought in that new hot talent Blurry. This is a team that I have no doubts about will make it on through. If they don't make RLRS, again, this is a massive upset.
Yeah, I agree on that one. Block is our third team. I picked them because I believe that they had a lot of consistent showings at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, and against some of the tougher opponents as well. They also had some really good series also to contend with. So is that something you agree with here, Bacon?
Oh, yeah. So for the last year, these three lads individually to their own teams have had brilliant results for them. Never being able to make it the whole way to like finals and that though. However, now as these young talents have split from their previous sides, come together to form Block. They got Rasmus 4 as their coach. This is like the dream French up and coming team. This is the new Rocket Baguette side, you know?
Yeah, and we needed a little bit of Netherlands representation in this in this lineups. We also decided to pick RJM consistently as well. Rizx Justice and Mike Boy. These are players that I think are just fucking good. Just straight up fucking good. They haven't got as many results as some of the other teams in play, but the results that they've had have been really fucking good, especially in Skirmish 1 and 2, where they came second place back-to-back. And the fact that it's Rizx Justice and Mike Boy, I also have some faith that they are going to be fucking baller.
Yeah, exactly. Mike Boy and Justice has been working great as a little duo for ages. Last season it was Stake, if I'm correct. Trying to think off the top of my head. But bringing Rizx, who clearly dropped his last side, I think, for an upgrade. This for us as well with their previous results. RGM is always one which are great turn-ups. If they do turn up, we have seen them have a problem with responding to invites, and that too, I think it was the skirmish for a couple of them. We'll call them out now actually, skirmish 5, they accepted it, but forfeited straight away, so that was one of the Little Giants' wins. They should do well. They should do so well. It'd be them just, I think, having a clusterfuck, just brain fart moment where they just absolutely throw a series. That will be the only way they'll drop and not make it through to RLRS.
And the final team that we decided to consistently pick was RCD Espanol, Stake, Tox, Traptonized, and Zamwe. I just think, again, beautiful. Very similar stuff to what we mentioned before in the sense that these guys are really good. Tox in particular as well. Like in some of the weeklies, he's been playing on the mixed teams and everything.
Explosion for this lad this season.
Absolutely.
I did not rate Tox at all before this coming off season. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he's gone for a team from players like, hey, is he really even bubble level? He's more like top end of the community level, which is like tier 4 if you want to put that there. Tier 3 is your bubble. And then he has just exploded now to being, I would argue, one of the best players coming into RLRS players. I think he is well and truly of a level, and I think he is probably going in. He is the RCD Espanol's strongest player, and he is so fucking scary for any of these teams to go up. Naturally, with how seeding works, I don't think we'll have too much of a problem of like seeing any of these teams go against each other. But if you're, your Wind and Rain, if you're, I don't know, Little Giant, Scuff, Leftovers, Exilium, whoever, and you come up against RCD Espanol, you have to close down Tox. You cannot allow him to be running about on that pitch because he destroys. It's scary.
Yeah, and I think combine that with the consistency of someone like Stake, who can probably bolster a lot of sort of like the basis for this team. Like we're looking at a really fucking we're looking at a really fucking good like setup for a team, as well as his performance in previous sort of bubble scene tournaments. I know he had a stint on ALG. He was on the last RCD squad with fucking Zamwe as well, who I think has not been the most standout guy for that team last season, but certainly a more consistent element. I think that this team has a lot going for it going into these playoffs, play-ins, I should say. I keep saying playoffs for some reason. I don't know why. So let's get to the disagreements. Now, for the most part, we had everything down pat, 5 out of 7 in agreements. However, a couple of teams we decided weren't going to be good enough to make it in. So on my picks first, obviously you've seen them on screen for a while. First up, I've got Servette Geneva. Now, Servette Geneva are... You're smiling. I know why you're smiling as well.
I had these in my potential. They were in the, I had, what was it? I think following 10, which we already talked about in the notable teams. You'll definitely hear that I talked about. The lower end of the notable teams is more likely, but Servette Geneva is in that. These are the guys who could make the run. So I can see your point here. But I feel this is favoritism, dude.
No, it's not just because I know the guys and I've known them. Here's the thing. Servette Geneva fucking were one series away, right? One series away from making it in last time around. And this was with a relatively shit version of the roster last time around. You know, they've made significant improvements. They've changed things up massively in their own right. And they've got, I think, what was the better and I think they've got always one of the better sort of squads. You know, like in the last sort of Servette Geneva team that we that we had Zafir, Mirrorwing, and Hello playing in that squad. This time around, we've got Zafir, Mirrorwing, and Yagi, who, in my opinion, were the best Servette Geneva that we've seen. They got cut off very prematurely. I think this is the season. You know, I think this is the season for them. I think this is going to be that finally a chance for them to make it in, even though it is a very close affair and they were at the bottom end of my picks. I'm aboard the Servette hype train this time.
Well, in Servette Geneva last season, didn't make it. It's Mirrorwing, Skyline, and Hello, not Servette. So that was just a little mix up there. But yeah, this was a team that did.
Sorry, Matt, that's my bad. Excuse me.
That's Skyline's effect. We got to say that. Like, he just somehow turns up to RLRS players and nearly makes it each and every time. He is just such a great player. Interesting that you haven't seen him really sign up this season. I haven't seen his name been floating about. But they're quite a outside pick for a lot. My problem here is when I saw them recently, again, in the skirmish, they were having such a massive fucking off day. And you could see it. They had one great game in their first series against Wind and Rain. And then the rest of, to be honest, this entire skirmish was just dribble. And that was just every team seemingly playing quite awkward and bad on the day. To a point, Servette Geneva went up against Three of a Kind and got completely shut out. I can't remember this last time I saw a series. 3-0 with no goals at all, Jay. And that is my problem. Servette Geneva, when they go up against top-class teams, where, you know, they're great players on there, they just seem to let nerves get the best of them. And that always happens with those nerves right at the end of play-ins. And that's why I didn't include them in my picks. I think they'll be runners up once again. I think those nerves will just kick them down at the last bit, and I hate to see it.
Okay.
You understand my point? I hate saying it, and that's why I didn't put them in.
Here's the thing. They're valid arguments to make. I think that maybe this little, like, you know, tip over, especially with someone like Zafir being in that roster, who has just been sort of the god of the Swiss scene in the last sort of like year or so. Like, you know, with his confidence, you know, or with his theoretical confidence, you must imagine that at some point it's going to be able to tick over. You know, and you must imagine at some point that their international affairs should work.
If they made RLRS, this would be a team that would be scary in RLRS, because it's finally, they've done it. It's getting over that last hurdle for them, you know? And if they made it, oh boy, this would be such an exciting season to be able to see what they would do from there, because you'd hope that'd be them nerves suddenly just completely cleared. But they're still there. And seeing that, I can remember on the day Yagi was doing well, but Mirrorwing, he wasn't even worth being on the pitch for that fucking day. He was just not connecting anything. And Zafir was doing what he could, but Zafir these days is the captain. He's at core, he's the third. He would just be passing it about. But again, he was suffering a little bit from nerves. And it's all coming down to, and a large part of it is that Rocket League at the moment is being played at such a fucking high pace within Europe that's not their strong suit. Their strong suit is passing and good rotational team plays. They need to make sure that they can keep those team plays so crisp, so clean, whilst teams are just absolutely throwing their octanes and dominuses at them. And that is hard to keep up on the mental. But if they can, they're one of the strongest teams at the moment. The problem is that high, low aspect.
Fair enough. We'll see where the cards fall on that one. Another team that we disagreed upon, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't pick these guys actually, was the boys. I mean, look, right, you've got a lot coming out of the championship series, and you know he's still a good player. Like, you were still repping him towards the end of the Mousesports thing. You were saying don't kick a lot. You were saying don't kick a lot whatsoever. And I admit that some of the talents he's teamed with are a little bit like lower class than him, but my problem with Burrito B was always with the combination between him and Rix Ronde. It wasn't with Burrito B's actual skills as a player. And Calix, we haven't seen in a while, with the exception of some of the weekly tournaments they've played. And yes, some of their weeklies have been a little bit awkward, but they've got a couple of top fours. I think that this team I think this team has the talent there. You don't agree?
So results wise, they did beat Reality 3-1. Fair enough to that. However, they lost to Weedham Girls 3-0, getting pretty much shut out in that one. They did take down Cubicles 3-0, which, hints later, they might be one of my teams. Who knows? Maybe. Playing coy on that one, sure. But then they lost to Team Vertex, the new Domain with Nagflow side. 3-1 loss to them. They lost to RCD Espanol 3-1. They lost to Sandrock Gaming 3-0. Lost to Minx 3-2. They did beat Galaxy Bang 3-2. Sure, fair enough. But then they lost again to Weedham Girls. I just see them as not consistent enough in their results. This is a team that I don't think has played together enough and will not have the chemistry to make it on through to RLRS. They'll make a deep run. This is a team that I have no sight in them making it on through, just because I don't think they've got the work put in to be out others that have been around for longer. I don't know. I just don't see it in this side. It's weird.
Are you trying to say that they sort of have? Is it mostly just down to the team play thing though? So
yeah,
is
they
what you're saying.
They really double commit quite a lot as well, which is really bad on them.
So chemistry and team play.
Yeah, there's no chemistry for this team. It feels like they were just after say a lot being dropped from Mouse and that, it was just they scrambled together the best team, of the best players I can, but best players together does not make the best team, does it?
True. All right, then fine. All right, then. So let's take a look at your list outside of the ones that we agree on. Talk to me through your first pick.
So my first pick is Galaxy Bang, another one of these Spanish really high octane teams, Esmerita, VK Sailing, and Atomic. Now, this is a little bit of a weird one, and it is just once again a no-brain run at the wall. And if we, all run with enough pace, our heads are hard as stone, and maybe we'll be able to create a crack and break through it. It is Spanish Bim Bam through and through, and I think we're going to get a Spanish Bim Bam side. I think we're going to pretty much get a Spanish Bim Bam side come on through once again, and ARG aren't going to be the only ones doing that. With the part of Monkey Moon,
why this specific team though?
The results line up. So if I can drop that in my notes, the results line up that they are the strongest out of all the Spanish sides to make it on through. That's pretty much it. I'm going with my gut on this one. The fuck do
I don't know. I'm not 100% certain on this. There's something tickling me wrong. They got a couple of good victories against three of a kind in the skirmish, but then I think the next week, the next week or the week after, I can't remember. They fell apart, didn't they? They fell apart against Reality.
So against Little Giants, they beat them 3-2. They did lose the Notorious Legion. I'll admit. What am I saying? Making sure. Yep, there we go. Got them there. So beat Little Giants. Lost Notorious Legion. They beat out Reality. They beat Three of a Kind. They beat Weedham Girls. They beat Three of a Kind once again in a 4-3 manner. They lost to the boys, so I'll admit that. But they beat out Sandrock Gaming. Got them down here as just losing to Reality a second time. But they're just very much, whenever they lose, it is in a Game 5 manner. But other teams, I don't see. Yeah. Apart from, I want to say it was the boys where they lost 3-1 once.
Because you also got to take a look at their victories as well, and they've also not been struggling against guys like, you know, RLCS and 3 of a kind. Yeah, they did get those 2 wins, but they were all within 1 game in those semi-finals and those grand finals.
For me, I just see, like, yeah, they're fucking clutch because, again, it's Spanish bim bam, but they just etch out enough wins. I think this is going to be my upset run. That is it. I don't
honestly.
Again, I have no thought to this. You know, Pepe Garza and all of that.
Well, you just fucking slapped it on there without thinking about who would actually.
I don't know. I went with my gut and I was like, Galaxy Bang are doing it. Why are Galaxy Bang doing it? They're just fucking doing it. Like,
oh my god, you're supposed to be the expert out of the 2 of us as well, mate. Like,
yes,
what the fuck?
And when they make it on through, I'll look smart for no fucking reason other than Bacon thought this. It was going to happen. Like I said, it's just the 3 of them are going to fucking run at that wall as fucking hard as they can. They'll somehow break through it. I don't know how. Everyone will be looking at that like, really? This team made it on through? The same thing applies to the Cubicles. They'll do a Golden Hawks. They'll go into RLRS plans, come out 0-9, and it's just going to be, that's that team of the season. It always happens, and this is Galaxy Bang this season.
Does the same thing happen apply to the Cubicles?
This is what it is.
Does the same thing apply to the Cubicles? This is the other pick that you also disagreed upon.
Actually, no. Frizz, Boris, and Hyder have had some super solid results, and I closed my notes again. Why do I do this when I finish looking at them?
Honestly, you'd think you'd be a bit more professional than a fucking, you know, podcast host, but I digress.
Yeah, whatever. Just wait for that to come up. There we go. Cubicles. So, results. Am I looking at the right sheet? Yes, I am. Again, lost in Notorious Legion. Sure. Taking down Moosemate, which actually they're a team we didn't put down. But Team WLF, they lost to as well. There's a lot of losing here. But there's also some winners. Taking down Awkward Turtles. Lost the Weedam Girls. Taking down Exilium. Sunglasses and emoji, whatever. But I don't know. I just look at this side, and just from how they've been playing, I weirdly think that they're just going to have another clutch run on the day. It was super weird. And Friss is washed as fuck. He's another waffle. But Boris and Hyder are super legit.
Hold on. Why are you giving a bunch of players shit for being fucking washed about 10 minutes ago? And now you're here saying Friss is washed, but he'll make it in.
I think he's going to be the washed player to come on through. Other than Greasy. But
you are trying to dig yourself out of a fucking hole here, mate.
Oh, no. I put myself in a hole. Boy, if anyone at home wants to play along to the predictions game, I accept on week 1 I am fucked because those predictions I looked and just went, yeah, sure, let's go with this, sure. But here, I don't know. I've got a feeling the Cubicles go through. I went with my gut.
I'm sorry. I don't understand your last 2 picks there.
No. This will be funny next week when they go through and we just both look at each other and go, all right then. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I know that fucking, you know, there's an easier argument to make for fucking, there's an easier fucking argument to make that the boys making it through, you know. At least they've got pedigree.
You know what? No, Jay, I changed that now. No Horizon for Cubicles.
Are you changing it?
I'm changing it. No Horizon to go through.
Why didn't you put that down before? Why didn't you put that down before? That would have worked fucking better, right? That would have worked fucking better.
I'm only realizing it now. We got time. We're still on the podcast. No Horizon, come in and we get Double the Bim Bammy. And it is beautiful.
It
is all brainless plays this season.
Yeah, pretty fucking brainless from your part. Holy shit. There's our RLRS preview.
Jay went with safe picks and he still calls me out for actually trying to make a risk. Oh.
Look, at least I fucking have a logic behind my ideas. At least I have a fucking logic behind all that shit, okay? Anyway, so that is the Rival Series play-ins. Kind of wrapped up pretty nicely. Obviously.
In an hour and a half.
In an hour and a half, yes. I mean, were you expecting anything less? We've got a double fucking header feature, okay? Because the second part of our show is going to be about the Championship Series and the Rival Series storylines and the first week of results that we have for the Championship Series as well. So, let's get
I'm going to say we need to pick up the pace because there is a hard out.
You didn't fucking tell me about the hard out.
Not the biggest one. It's just got...
What time do you need to leave?
Probably we got half an hour for this. That's good. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry. It'll be fine.
Right. I can't believe
Week
you
one's
fucking...
okay. There's only one
Doing a
interesting
double
game in week
preview
one.
show, and you want to get this next fucking hour's worth of content wrapped up in half the time. Jesus
Don't worry.
Christ.
You're only
So
delaying
we're
it. Come
going
on.
to run through all of our storylines, all of our big sort of things from all the teams that are coming over from our rival series and the championship series from last season. We're going to talk about their potential. We're going to talk about the stories. We're going to talk about the first week of matches as well. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up to the top. In the rival series, the first little story I want to talk about is the return of Triple Trouble. Return in name, but is it in the same in nature? And I remember Triple Trouble, they went in and they qualified for championship series, and then they managed to make it through to the LAN finals within the within 2 seasons. They were able to do all of that. Can they do the same, however, with the brand new lineups that they've got in place, and of course with the dropping of the method side obviously coming through? You're shaking your head, Bacon. I can already tell you don't think so.
I don't think they've built up any chemistry with Bluey here. I feel like it was a good pickup. It was a good name to do and all of that. But if you... I remember we them girls taking them down in one of the skirmishes, and I just look at this team and I think against RLRS sides where they're going to have so much chemistry, unless there is an immediate improvement, I don't think Triple Trouble is going to fix their problems. And I think this is a team that will probably stay safe this coming season, but I don't see them as a top one gets auto promotion. And then has it been explained what the playoff circumstances? I thought they were just going second and third to the old system.
Yeah, second and third to the old system, and then the 3 after that stay in the rival series.
Yeah. So I don't think they'll make top 3. I think they'll be a 4th, 5th, or 6th option.
Even with Bluey on the roster?
Mm-hmm. Because they'll shit the bed in the first 2-3 weeks. Probably
I think
2
Triple
weeks.
Trouble's inclusion of Bluey, obviously, to replace and fix the issues of chemistry.
Bluey's going to double commit, get MVP of the day.
Here's the thing. At the rival series level, Bluey has proven himself to be the top end of the rival series at the very least, if not further beyond that. I think this is going to be a decent season for Triple Trouble. I don't think they'll make top 1, but top 3 is well within possibility. So come on.
I'll call it on when we after, because we'll talk about this next week as well. But I'm going to say it will come down on the schedule coming in to the first 2 weeks, because I really think they're going to shit the bed in the first 2 weeks. If they get easy games, they'll be fine this season. But if they get hard games, let's say they go up against We Dem Girls, they'll shit the bed, lose those games, and then lose those top spots. They need 3 more weeks to improve and get that chemistry together.
I don't think you've got enough stock in Triple Trouble, personally. I have a little bit more faith.
I don't have enough stock in Bluey. I don't think he's good. He's a mechanical god, yeah.
Bluey's problem was rooted in FC Barcelona as a whole. Bluey, yes, he can be an egotist and he can sometimes overstep his bounds, but let's be real here. That's going to be a problem with FC Barcelona in fucking general, because that's exactly what the team is built off of, essentially. So, I don't know how much is that is down to Bluey and how much of that is down to the team formation as a whole. We'll find out as Triple Trouble rolls on throughout the weeks. Obviously, the first week will be very telling of where they stand overall. The next team, obviously, is ARG. They stayed in the rival series. Fucking hell. They stayed in the rival series as the Spanish Bim Bam representatives, as you mentioned so much about. But much like last season, they haven't competed in anything except for Superstar League. And that pisses me off, because they stagnated to fuck, because they came from the bubble scene into the rival series hot as fucking hot as a white coal. They were hot as a white coal. They came in, they smashed it out the park. Then the next off season they did nothing. Then the season after that they plateaued, and they stayed here in the rival series after that. What's the point that we're going to see that plateau start coming to a drop-off for this team?
I think it comes this season. They're dropping out. You look at a lot of the teams coming on through, like we said, just looking at our picks, and at the moment, I'd rate them higher. I reckon they're going to absolutely struggle this season, and like you said, it will come to that plateau. I don't know what they've been doing in scrims, but I can't see those scrims. I'm going off what I've seen so far in this off-season as such, and it has been Jackal, so I've got no hope for this side.
No hope whatsoever.
I reckon it's going to be, again, Monkey Moon is just going to carry his team for a couple of wins, and then Monkey Moon will be picked up by another team next season and actually do well again.
It's hard to quantify exactly how well ARG will do when we've seen so little of them, but I have to say I'm kind of leaning to an area of agreement with you. ARG for me, like they've gone from being the hype thing to being suddenly like they don't feel like they care anymore, which kind of sucks. But we'll see whether or not that will carry through going into the first season of league play. Again, the outlook from the initial startup though, not looking good for ARG. Baguette squad. They were the winners of Superstar League, but their problem has always been the next step up after that fact. You know, they've struggled a little bit back and forth in the rival series. They were relegated last season. They came back in. They relegated the season before, came back in last season, and now they're here retaining their spot. But can they go any further than that? Can they push towards those promotion playoffs, or are they going to stick here? Are they going to get relegated again?
So I don't have any data on Baguette squad because I wasn't putting this on in because I didn't think about that. I only put like the RLRS.
Fucking the most professional co-host here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, where's your data and where are your stats, mister?
It's all in
but no,
here.
it's because Okay. Who was the last team Baguette squad played against, Jay? Go on.
Yes.
But my point being that I only
that final.
But it's purely because I just was only my stats. I'm only looking at the players' teams because they're already in RLRS. But this is a team again. I have not seen a massive amount from them in the off season. Don't know why. I'm pretty sure I saw them in one of the nice cactuses. I'm quickly looking over the skirmishes as we speak now, but I can't remember seeing them in any of them. No.
See, here's the thing. Baguette squad have a very similar story to ARG in the way things
They've
worked
got
out because
nothing
they haven't actually competed in any tournaments. The only thing that they really did was EU Superstar League. That's it. You know, they've done nothing else other than that. And yeah, they won Superstar
Christmas.
League. You know, that was the thing. It was before the end of the year. They won it. Fair play. They won it above ARG, who also competed in that. But like ARG, they haven't really done much since that point. So what kind of state are they coming in? Are they going to be fresh and ready to roll, having boot camped and what have you? Or are they going to stagnate and plateau out just like ARG did last season?
I don't know. For me, Baguette squad seemed to put in more work, so I'd imagine they would have been scrimming more. But the best they're going to do is going to be like another 5th, 6th plays where they just scrape on in, I reckon. Looking at the current caliber, no idea where they'll end up. But again, that comes down to, guys, you got to be attacking on those weeklies. You know, still, RLRS teams need to be doing those weeklies. So that, more importantly, they can keep up to, like, you know, grade of what is going on with these bubble teams coming through. Because I reckon they'll probably come in pretty blind. And the first 2 weeks, again, could be a big problem for them, where they're just getting their footing again, where they're just warming up.
Yeah. The first week will be very slow for these two teams, I think.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be keeping my eyes very closely on ARG and Baguette squad. I tend to agree with you on both of those teams, to be honest. If you're not putting in the effort, you're not going to see the results. And for these two teams, that'll certainly become apparent as time goes on. But that's pretty much it that we can talk about the rival series. Obviously, there is no 4th team since Complexity split. So, you know, there's nothing else to talk about in that respect. So we move on to the championship series since we've got 20 minutes to get through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 storylines.
Go.
Fucking. And of course, the round 1 predictions. Right. We'll start with FC Barcelona. Obviously, everyone said it wouldn't happen, but it did. Bluey moved away, and FC Barcelona picked up Flakes in his stead. But this is, as we said, a like-for-like sort of move for these guys. And the question really is that going to be enough to push them over the edge and finally give them a non-shit season? You know, because last season was terrible. This season, they've got someone who could be equally as volatile as Bluey, and they've got exactly the same role as Bluey. They're 3 strikers that step on each other's toes. Is FC Barcelona going to have another rough time?
So, looking at all the teams coming into this season, I can't rate them better than bottom half. You know, they are in a very tricky situation. You've got Vitality, Reciprocity, Mouse, Dig finally on form. I reckon AS Monaco are going to be great. That's already the top half cemented. they're going to be scrapping it out, I think, for that sick final spot into regionals and trying to like weasel their way on through. But I don't think it's going to be happening. I can't see this team improving. They've all got way too big egos, and they're just going to hurt themselves once again.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't know how much Flakes changes in the grand scale of FC Barcelona. Again, like I mentioned with Bluey earlier, a lot of his problem was the fact that they were all three strikers with three big egos. And it's the exact same thing here with FC Barcelona. I'm not far confident in this team, unfortunately. It's like for like, therefore this season will be like for like compared to the last one. A team that might be radically different though is TSM. Obviously they lost their big gun, they lost Alpha, the crucial crutch essentially for them last season, but they've brought in a new boy. They've got the Magnus Metzenaris combo back again, which is curious to say the least. Can they rekindle the complexity magic? I mean, yeah, it's very safe to start things off. I mean, they're two very capable players, but like in order to see this team go far again, we need to see more of that complexity magic and the magic that this duo sort of like, you know, brought out of the best of each other throughout the course of like 4 or 5 different organizations or something, you know?
So how often in the RLCS is safe good? Have we seen in the past?
True.
There we go. For me right now, this team is too old school. I reckon they'll be too slow compared to the rest of the other teams. And I can honestly say Solo mid are going to be in the relegation zone, so bottom 3 coming this season. I have no hope for this side.
Wow. I was not expecting that to straight up be out there. I mean, the thing is that this team they've got again, the main intangible for me is the magic, is the Magnus Metzenaris combo. If they can make that work again, then this team will be okay. But as you say, that I can't go off of magic and intangibles. Yeah, no, I can't go off of that because I don't know if it's still there anymore. I don't know what is still left of that complexity lineup that made such a dominating sort of, you know, impression on the scene as a whole. And it's for that reason that I'm still going to I think the jury's still out on TSM for me. Right. You know, they're going to gain some chemistry out of this one, but losing Alpha is a big fucking no-no. And they've still got Remco in this one, who was starting to pull his weight towards the end of things, but during the season, he had a very terrible season for me. It's way too difficult to call right now, and especially as we haven't seen them. You know, there's rumors going around about how they're doing in scrims, but I don't use scrims as a good benchmark at all.
Remember that last one? Yep.
Yep. You know, the fucking, you know, Gregan will tell you all about that shit. So yeah, TSM, very, very questionable about them, and they'll be a team to watch going forward. And the teams, of course, to watch coming up from the last seasons of relegations and promotions: AS Monaco, Endpoint, and Singularity, looking to make a splash here. Of these teams, what do you rate for them all individually, and who do you think could stand out on top?
So I think ASM will be top 6. I reckon they'll be close to the top 4, actually. I think they'll be trying to... It's hard, but I think they'll be pushing up. They'll be towards the top level of EU Rocket League at the moment. Endpoint is probably going to be trying to battle around the mid. Singularity is going to be the questionable one, because we have heard rumors that, you know, Mexa might have to step in for some games. And this is going to be a hard season for them. And realistically, looking at level players, they should be in the bottom 4. Now, that could change. We don't know, but this is going to be such a hard season for Singularity. And I reckon they probably know that themselves. So they'll be, I reckon, if anything, maybe a bit strategic with how they're going to be playing their games, because this is a side that could do well. We'll see what with the pace and power that both with the Godsmiller, though, and Nolly have. But this is a massive step up into the RLCS for all 3 of these lads. And stats-wise, it's going to be a hard graft for them.
I will say, though, I don't rate Singularity with Mexa, unfortunately. I just don't.
Oh, naturally. He's the sub, yeah. He's not.
Yeah.
Like Mexa
here's the thing.
isn't even RLRS yet.
Yeah, it's such a step down for Singularity that I feel like any match that they have to sub Mexa in, it's an instant default for me. Like, you know, I just can't see them winning with someone like Mexa. He's very unproven. He's, you know, I think that he's also cut off a lot of the trust in Singularity as well.
By No Horizon. That team.
That's what I was going to bring up actually. You know, unfortunately, just due to the nature of subs and the way that Mex and Mexa's own individual sort of talents, is that during the Nice Cactus Cup, they got trounced. They got fucking trounced. And if they're going to get trounced by fucking bubble teams, and imagine what it's going to be like when you face off against Renault Vitality. You know, it's just impossible for them to win. They need they need to have all three of those players, Godspeed, and Noli, to keep the pace going, to keep the chemistry going. And yeah, we understand that there are extenuating circumstances that disallow them from doing that sometimes. But the truth of the matter is that that's what Singularity need to win. Therefore, anything else will not be acceptable. And that's just the harsh truth about it for me.
You've got to also look at it now that we come into a 10-team format. It's no longer 2 wins and you should be on the borderline. Exactly. That bar raised a little bit. Definitely secured in 3 wins is that sort of borderline now. And if you look at Singularity, can you pick 3 teams here that they'll beat?
I mean, look, with Godspeed, though, and Noli, I see upset potential. With Mexa,
it's upset
no
potential,
chance.
Yeah.
I really highly rate of these 3. I think AS Monaco are the best team out of all of them. Obviously, the fact that they came top 1 and Endpoint came in the top 2, which is also pretty fucking baller. I think Endpoint have a lot of potential, and they've got a lot of promise behind them in this season. The main issue is, of course, how well are these bubble scene talents going to be able to perform at the world's best ranking. I think it's great that they've got signed. I think it's great that they're performing in the rival series, but this is definitely a big fish in a small pond scenario for all of these teams, except for maybe AS Monaco. So let's see whether Endpoint can actually make it happen. Moving on, I mean, you know, in very similar sort of fashion, Veloce obviously with a team that got auto-promoted by Technicality last season. This season, they're looking to try and find some stable footing after that last World Championship run, because let's be real here, Veloce, whilst I was a big fanboy of them with those fucking, you know, freaky heads and everything, their LAN was weird. Their LAN was really fucking weird. What was it? They managed to lose to Loki, then they managed to beat E United, and then there was that Renegades result obviously on day 2, which is fucking stupid. So they got, like, you know, they got extremely lucky with the reverse sweep, the fact that E United sort of choked that whole thing, and I think during the actual season itself, they were like the opposite end of the Mousesports thing, where it's like they needed some teams to win some ridiculous matches in order, or them to lose some ridiculous matches. Like I think it was they needed Mousesports to lose those 2 games in week 5 to auto promote. So like for them, they got incredibly lucky for some incredibly ridiculous circumstances, and they kind of abused some various little weaknesses in some teams that really they shouldn't have had at a professional level. So it's like talking about them going into this season where the European scene is now very fucking baller right now. It's like, you know, for Veloce, they need to find some decent footing here.
Yeah, so for me, I will bring up Endpoint again about this. Again, didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I reckon what you could imagine coming into this season compared to, like, say, last season, for Veloce and Endpoint, they're going to be flipped. Veloce are going to go from hero to zero. I reckon last season, yes, was a little bit of luck, but I reckon for some reason, again, it's another gut bacon thing, bacon BS, whatever. I reckon they're going to fall apart this season, and a couple of losses in the first half. Where who do they have in the first week? They've got SCB. That's great. They'll win that. They'll get a lot of overconfidence, and again with TSM in the second week they'll get overconfident, but then they'll have Mouse, they'll have Reciprocity, Endpoint, Singularity, and I can see them just getting massively upset and smashed into the later weeks, and that's going to put them down to the bottom end. Endpoint, I reckon, is going to take their spot as having the dream run of this season, because each season one team has a dream run, doesn't it? And I think it's going to be Endpoint this season. So Veloce will die for Endpoint to succeed. I reckon that's how the story of this season is going to play out, and it'll be blue for blue, what for their logos, and it'll be all very pretty and very coincidental.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Endpoint fucking smash it out of the park. In place of Veloce, I mean, again, I enjoy the Veloce guys, but I'd like to see Endpoint just push that a little bit further. Dignitas, they're in the fucking groove. Holy shit! Coming off the back of the last season where they, were really quiet throughout the whole season, and they had that massive lower bracket run to make it all the way up to the grand finals. Like that's fucking undeniable for those guys. Like Dignitas had a really, really good little land final placing, so they're looking real good, in spite of the rumors that they might have trained up a couple of players. They stuck together as the 3-man. They decided to try and retain their second place position and move into this season with a great opportunity, and right now this might end up being that opportunity right here. They are looking really good. Yukio is in the groove. He's settled in. His chemistry with Panda and Astral is looking great. Astral started to really come into his own. I think Dignitas have a good season ahead of them.
Yeah, they finally broke out of that funk which they had towards the end of last season. It can only get better. We'll see, of course, because naturally so many teams here are strong, but Dignitas should be a clear top 4 pick, and that is great for them.
I think so too, yeah. Dignitas now starting to look like the team that we knew before. Again, I can see some potential where they could crack, especially in the case of Yukio, where any small little change can cause his confidence to just fucking disappear. But no such change has been seen from Dignitas, and it might just be a case of comfort against the rest of the teams. But we'll have to see whether or not that is a case for Dignitas. That's very untangible elements that we have to talk about later down the road. Mousesports, the redemption arc is on, Bacon. They were fucking white hot in last season. And they bottled it.
Then a lot was a lot.
Yeah, a lot was a lot.
Just as I got my confidence in him,
Yeah, they completely fucked it up. They completely fucked it up last season. They were the biggest letdown for me in the last season, losing 4 series in a row, and I only had to win 1 in order to get the fucking, to get the land spot. And they didn't do that. This now means that a lot's gone off. Scrub Killer's on. It doesn't say it officially. There's no official announcement. Trust me, guys. Scrub Killer is on the team.
Where the fuck is this announcement?
He's on the team, okay? Just waiting for that whole thing to kick about. It's almost confirmed at this point. So for Mousesports, I think that's actually an upgrade.
Has anyone got a bet that Scrub is just going to play without being announced? There won't be an announcement from Mouse. Mouse have forgotten.
I think Mousesports would announce that, actually. I think they would.
At some point. Come on. This is getting ridiculous now.
I don't want to say exactly why they've taken so long to fucking get him signed, but at this point, the rosters are locked. There's no other team that Scrub can go to. There's no other player that Mousesports could pick up. Come on. The writing's on the fucking wall, guys. It's Scrub Killer. And honestly, I think that this team with Scrub Killer, could be pretty impressive, actually.
Scrub and Cooks on the same team is like a sharp fanboy wet dream come true, and it is brilliant. This team, it's so good. And then you got Speed there, fucking meme-tastic hero he is just fast enough and ball chasing enough to fill in the gaps, and it's great. Mouse, they're gonna have a stellar season. If they don't, I don't know where the fuck that's come from, but it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Mousesports this season. I think that they've got a lot of potential.
ASM week 1, that is the best game. Sorry, we'll get into that later.
That'll be awesome. We'll talk about that in more details coming up later down the road. But Mousesports, I've got high hopes for them. I had high hopes for them last season, but come on, dude. With this change, with this roster, there's got to be some sort of spot for them in the top 4, in my opinion. So let's see Mousesports go top 2. Really. I don't know, man. Again, I'm not comfortable putting a team, a brand new team that high up, especially when it's just they've just made a roster move. So I'm going to say top 4 safe, top 2 maybe. We'll see how the whole everything goes in the first week. Same thing for a team like Reciprocity. Who I think they have agreed with us or agree with me at least in terms of giving them a pass for Last Worlds. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances that that caused them to not have the same form that they kind of wanted to going into those first few matches in the group stage. For them though, it is another redemption arc because they were hot shit from last season. They were hot shit in the off season. They came into LAN. Everyone thought they would do well, and then they didn't. They were the only team from EU to not make it out of the World Championship. There are 2 alternative realities here. One where we see Reciprocity come back, and one where we see them go back to being PSG. Which reality do you think we live in here, Bacon?
I reckon it's going to be a sort of old school PSG run. Like, maybe. I don't know. I think they're going to do very similar stuff as what Dignitas did last season. So they'll start off and everyone goes, oh, what the fuck has happened to Reciprocity? They come out sixth in league play, and then they just through regionals make their way up to LAN, and it'll be epic to see them, and they'll finally come back. But they'll tease us again. They won't win LAN. It'll go into next season. Everyone's like, oh my god, Reciprocity are awesome, and they just won't do much. And it's always a constant tease cycle of this scene. This team. Look at that logo. It is the cycle of tease. They won't do it. I'm telling you now, Reciprocity just they're going to be like proper feels bad, and it'll come around. They'll make LAN. It'll be awesome, but they do my heart the stoppage. They don't do it good.
All right, I'll take that. All right then yeah, Reciprocity. I think there's two roads here. Let's see which one we go down at the end of things. Renault Vitality are the final team we have to talk about because these guys are my favorites to win the whole fucking thing.
Oh, yeah.
Shit, man. Like, what a player they've got. Alpha is insane. Vitality have Fairy Peak and K-Dop, who have not missed a beat since they got together. It sucks that Scrub got traded out for this, but let's be real here. If you're given the opportunity to pick up someone like Alpha, who for me was my season MVP, like, come on, dude. That's a pretty big fucking, that's a pretty big fucking yes, please for me. Renault Vitality, this team is insane. I've got so much hope for this team. I think they're going to be, at the very least, European champions. If not, possible world champion contenders. NRG are going to be a tough act to beat, but I think Renault Vitality have the potential to be the best European roster from the entire Championship Series.
This team is just peak Rocket League. That is it. It's the best three players that we can ask for together on the same team. Like, realistically, the weakest player on that team is Fairy Peak, but you know what he does with K-Dop. You cannot deny it. Alpha coming on through. Like, we have not been able to see this team play together yet, but I have no doubts in my heart that this team won't do anything less than awesome. Like, everything is just lined up for this to come together, the full French, even with their sub, Mout. Mout adds the meme-tacular essence to the side that they need. And Vitality will go on through and they will just not lose a single... I don't have the balls to say they won't drop a single game because it's Vitality. They will at some point drop one game. But they will win the next Worlds. I can tell you that now.
I think they'll win X Worlds as well. I think that they're if not, they will be the team that comes in second place at the very least. They are fucking great. Like, there's no doubting Renault Vitality at the very least. And that kind of rounds out all of our storylines from Championship Series. Sorry, go on. What are you gonna say? The
problem there is, I say, where they're like, oh, they can't go the perfect 9-0, but I look at every team here and I go, who will take down Vitality? Like, that is it. They're too big an image. It's so scary. We're not bold enough to say they will do the 9-0, but I can't see a team beating them. That will be the surprise. Any team that can beat Vitality, just well fucking done, to be honest. Like, that's enough. Like, you've got your gold already,
We'll see whether Endpoint can do that on the first week of the league play season. And actually, on that note, I guess we can transition very quickly out into the first week's matches. Obviously, they are a number of days away. February 2nd at 5 p.m. GMT, 6 p.m. CET is where you will see those matches taking place on the main streams. Rec versus Singularity, Renault Vitality versus Endpoint, FC Barcelona against Veloce, TSM versus Dignitas, ASM versus Mousesports. First off, pick of the night. Which one do you think it is? Is it ASM Mouse?
Yeah, ASM Mouse. If it was anything else, you're just a fucking illusional. That is going to be such a baller game. I can't wait for that. There's so much on the line there. Like, ASM is one part as well, the old Mouse team with Tigre. But here, just looking at that, two strong teams. We finally get to see Scrub in action with this, and we finally get to see ASM walked it near enough through the RLRS, but are they RLCS talent now? We know a lot of these players are, but we finally get to see it in action, and I can't fucking wait for that.
Absolutely, yes. And of course, our quick predictions, just to give you a quick idea of where we sort of stand on these matches before we get out. I'm going to go Rec beating Singularity 3-0, Renault Vitality beating Endpoint, 3-2, excuse me, for Rec versus Singularity. Renault Vitality beating Endpoint 3-0. FC Barcelona losing to Veloce at 3-1. Dignitas beating TSM at 3-1. And I've got Mousesports above ASM 3-1.
So 3-1 Rec over Singularity, 3-1 Vitality over Endpoint, 3-2 Barca over Veloce, 3-0. Actually, no, Dig will throw it because it's the first week. So 3-2 Dig over TSM, and then Mouse 3-2 over ASM, and it'll be the best first fucking week of Rocket League we get in a long time because
I think it's going to be a very fun one. It's going to be a very fun one, actually. Those are our picking predictions. Well, actually, as our predictions in general. Maybe you could potentially predict better. Join the Discord and find out. !Discord in the Twitch chat if you're not already there right now. Of course, also in the show notes and video description, there is a single episode of the podcast. Follow those links. Get involved with the podcast. Ask us mailbag questions as well, since going forward in the next couple of weeks, we're going to need some content because, two guys can't just sit here and talk about RLCS all fucking show. We need a little bit more to pad it out. So please feel free to send us over in that mailbag channel. Of course, if you're watching or listening via the various on-demand platforms, you can follow the podcast live at twitch.tv/RLAfterShock. Going live every Monday and Tuesday, possibly Wednesday going forward as well. We'll be bringing updates on that on the Twitter at RLAfterShock. And if you are listening to the Twitch version, you can take the podcast on the go via YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, and most other major platforms of audio distribution or video distribution. You go to anchor.fm/RLAfterShock to find your favorite platform or request your favorite way to listen. If I can actually get the intro right for one, outro right for, fuck me. I want to go have some fucking dinner, dude. I am so hungry.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Shut up. Anyways.
Beautiful.
It's been a long week. I'm glad to have my PC back. I'm glad that SSP1 is 95% complete, and you want to hear about that too, alongside SSP2, which is very Aftershock related, that one. So definitely keep your eyes on the Twitters for both myself and Bacon, and at RL Aftershock and everything. So with that, we're going to end. Bacon, any final thoughts from your fine self?
Not really. Just like, I promise. Okay, guys, if you head on over to YouTube, because Jay does put these up on YouTube with the video version, and this video gets, let's go for a very conservative 20 likes or whatever, thumbs up, whatever it is on YouTube. When we get back into the studio for Arena Clash in 2 weeks' time, I'll slap him in the face and record it for YouTube and put it up there. The first short form content. That's what we're doing. Jay has no need to sign up for it.
I don't sign up for this. No. You're not going to slap me.
Co-host privilege.
I don't give a fuck. It will not hit 20 likes. I don't care. Especially, you're saying this at the end of the podcast when no one's going to listen to it anyway on YouTube. So up yours.
Exactly. So what do you have to fear?
Fuck off. I don't care. I'm not fearing anything. I'm just telling you it's not going to work. Fuck off. Anyways, we're going to end. Tune in next week for even... No, you won't. We're going to end...
That wasn't for you. That was for the guys at home. Don't listen, Joe.
No, you won't. If you create 20 bot accounts, it doesn't fucking count, all right? Don't fucking try that shit. Anyways, we're going to get out of here.
That's all you need.
We're going to get out of here because right now the Rocket Royale is going on, so we'll pass you live viewers off to one of the casters that are doing that action. For the time being, though, we're going to thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you back here next week for even more of the Aftershock.